Good evening. I want to welcome all of you. My name is Suzanne Wells, and I'm the president of the Ward 6 Public Schools Parent Organization. I want to thank you all for joining us this evening and for your interest in learning about our neighborhood middle schools. This evening, we're going to hear from the leadership of Jefferson Academy, Eliot-Hine Middle School, Stuart Hobson Middle School, and Capitol Hill Montessori at Logan. I want to let people know that the Stuart Hobson principal, Eric Frazier, is not able to be with us this evening, but we are joined by Catherine Turner, who is the assistant principal at Stuart Hobson. Each of the school leaders are going to give some brief remarks, and then Denise Fort, who is our moderator, will ask them a series of questions. You're welcome to put your questions in the chat throughout the discussion. We will be monitoring the chat, and we will try our best to get through as many of your questions as possible. Sandra Moscoso is going to be our Zoom master for the evening, and Sandra will be putting up some polls throughout the evening that we encourage you to participate in. I'd like to introduce Denise Fort, who is our moderator. Denise is the CEO and president of the Education Trust, an organization that advocates for the high achievement of all students, and particularly those of color or living in poverty. Denise has more than 20 years of experience working in the federal legislative and executive branches on education and family policy, and she's a parent of a Stuart Hobson graduate. So Denise, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Suzanne, and hello, everybody. We are so glad to have you here this evening. This was an amazing event last year, and I'm sure you're going to be learning a lot this year. I want to first thank all of our principals and AP Turner for joining us this evening. And let me briefly do introductions. And then, as Suzanne mentioned, we're going to ask you to do 1 to 2 minutes of an overview of your school and why you chose to work at the middle school level and why you have the greatest school here in Ward 6. So starting with Principal Magrino, who's the principal of Eliot-Hine Middle School. She has 23 years in education at the district, public charter, private, and alternative school settings. Next year will be her 6th year at Eliot-Hine and with DCPS. And prior to that, she founded a charter school, consulted in high needs districts across the country, and held school leader and teaching positions in DC and Houston, Texas. Next is Greg Doman, who is the principal of Jefferson Academy. He's also been a principal for 6 years at Jefferson Academy, although he's worked at Jefferson for 11 years, starting as a 7th grade math teacher in 2012. Prior to coming to Jefferson, he worked at Friendship Tech Prep High School in Anacostia. Kim Aduchim, who is the principal of Capitol Hill Montessori at Logan, has 27 years in education, starting out as a science teacher at Harriet Tubman Elementary and then at Benjamin Banneker High School. She was the principal at J.C. Nall Elementary School for 12 years before coming to Montessori at Logan 6 years ago. She was selected as the DC Teacher of the Year in 2006 and was a Rubenstein Awardee for Highly Effective Leadership in 2016. We also have with us today from Stuart Hobson Middle School, Assistant Principal Catherine Turner, who is a native Washingtonian and a DCPS graduate of School Without Walls. She's in her 9th year as Assistant Principal at Stuart Hobson. As an educator with deep roots in literacy and leadership, she previously taught 8th grade English Language Arts composition and served as an English department chair. She is the mother of 4 children, 3 of whom are Capitol Hill Cluster School students, which I think is awesome. So I want to thank all of you for being here with us today. And why don't I start with Principal Aduchim? If you could take 1 to 2 minutes to describe your school and why you chose to work at the middle school level.
Sure. Thank you, Denise. You added a few additional years to both locations, but that's okay. I'm so happy to be here tonight. I'm just delighted to work with students of the middle school because it truly reminds me that all kids really, really need is what they needed in kindergarten, even when they are a middle schooler. And that is basically a calm learning environment, trusting relationships with adults, and the ability to choose their pathway of learning. And at the middle school age, where their brains are undergoing so much in the frontal lobe towards specialization, it's great to be able to guide them in deciding which way they should go. So that's one of the reasons why I love working with the middle school.
Thank you. That was definitely 1 to 2 minutes. I appreciate you. Principal Doman?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm happy to be here. I have only ever worked in a middle school. I've never worked at any other age group. And it's probably because I'm like slightly unhinged. I think you have to be a little bit to choose to work with this age group, because you deal on a daily basis with such a wide range of emotions and different things happening during this critical period in a young person's life, that I think you have to be a little bit crazy. And it's absolutely the least boring job, the most exciting, most motivating job you could ever imagine having, which is why I've been here for 11 years, because I really love it. I have been here this long because I think we have something really special at Jefferson. I firmly believe we're the best middle school in DC, with apologies to my 3 really awesome colleagues here, all of whom schools are also amazing. If you don't send your student to Jefferson, send them to Stuart Hobson, Eliot-Hine, or Capitol Hill Montessori, because I also know these 3 leaders personally, and they're all doing phenomenal work. So Jefferson's great, but so are the other 3 schools. You can't go wrong. When I think about Jefferson, though, I think it starts with the community that we've built and foster here every day. We do an incredible amount of work around family engagement. So I think we engage our families, communicate with our families, as well as any other school anywhere. We've won 2 citywide standing ovation awards for family engagement in the last 5 years. So that's a testament to that work. But the way that we engage families from before their students' first day at Jefferson through 8th grade promotion, that communication is clear, it's consistent, and it always makes families feel like a real partner in the work. I also think that we do an amazing job making sure that our teachers and staff members feel like this is a place they never want to leave. We have incredible teachers, incredible staff here. I've been here 11 years. Our assistant principal's been here 7. Our director of operations 9. Right, like we're all in it and committed, and that really allows us to maintain a level of consistency and quality here at Jefferson that is tough to maintain when you have a lot of leadership transitions. We do a lot of work around our school culture and making sure this is a place that students look forward to being every day. Middle school is such a hard period of a student's life. They need to feel like the place that they're going every day is a place where they have a sense of belonging, a sense of joy and fun and excitement, multiple adults who they trust and know them deeply. And I think we've done a really amazing job. If you look at our student satisfaction data, if you look at our enrollment data, creating an environment where kids want to be, where adults want to be, and where families want to send their students every day.
Thank you, Principal Doman. Principal Macrino?
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for having us and for having me. So Eliot-Hine is an international baccalaureate middle school. So we have the first 3 years of the IB middle years program, and then the 10th grade. Those 2 years are at Eastern, so they continue the middle years program. So it's exciting that we have that partnership. I would say the reasons that I work with middle school are for much the same reasons that Greg mentioned. It is really exciting. I think more than anything, I love watching and experiencing and being part of students figuring out who they are and who they want to be, allowing them a safe space to make mistakes, and try something again or try it a new way. I think that's what we're able to take risks in a safe space, then we're really setting them up for success. More than anything, I think middle school is a time when I want to expose kids to as much as possible. Trips, because at the age I want them to try everything out so they can figure out what they do like. And oftentimes kids don't realize they love something because they just never get exposed to it. And so making sure that we expose them to as much as possible is also really drives me in terms of creating an educational program, a comprehensive program. And so I think that's one of the things that makes Eliot-Hine really, really special. We've had an amazing transformation in the last 5 years, and we are on a continued, our trajectory is upward. I'm really excited about the IB work that we're going to be doing. That includes really kind of having kids be curious about the world around them and connecting what they're doing in the class to the real world and doing real world projects and thinking about how they are important within their local community, but also the broader global community. And so what I am allowed to do in this IB school then is just make sure that we're providing as many opportunities as possible different classes and experiences for kids. And so that is a huge focus. And it very much brings me.
Thank you, Principal Magrino. And I just want to let you know, I think your internet is a little shaky, so we had a hard time hearing some of what you said. If you have the ability to move around in your room. AP Turner, welcome.
So good evening, everyone. Good evening, Ward 6 families. Much like my colleagues, I mentioned middle school is super important to me. It's a very passionate place in my life as a student at Taft Junior High School here in DC, and just really wanting to make sure that students have high quality experiences in middle school. And that's why we do what we do at Stuart Hobson Middle School. So at Stuart Hobson Middle School, we are definitely a school where every child achieves. And we want to make sure that every student has the best opportunity to be their authentic self. We talk a lot about making sure that our students, because we know our kids are going to learn a lot at Stuart Hobson, we also want to make sure that they're going to have a lot of fun. And I think that's what separates Stuart Hobson from some of the other schools in Ward 6. But I completely agree with Principal Doman that you can't go wrong with any of these 4 schools. Just wonderful leadership and commitment to children is amongst the team that you see here. And so just sharing that we have a robust theater program, a band program, debate program, and so many other ways that we engage our students, not just in the classroom, but also outside of the classroom. We think Stuart Hobson is a great fit for most middle schoolers, and especially our in-boundary and feeder families in Ward 6. Thank you.
Thank you, AP Turner. And I'm going to stick with you, and because your question sort of leads me in this direction. Students enrolling in your middle school come with varying ranges of academic abilities. How does your school help students who do not meet grade level expectations and those who exceed grade level expectations reach their highest potential?
So at Stuart Hobson Middle School, we definitely offer a variety of programming for our students. We have acceleration programs with our math work with our students. We have Algebra 1 at Stuart Hobson Middle School. Occasionally, we have a small geometry cohort, but that is, again, a 10th grade class, so I don't want to oversell that. But we do definitely work with our math department and making sure that our students are getting the best opportunities in math. And some ways we help our students meet the gap that they may have is we offer an additional math class for some of our classes for students to take to be able to get additional service time around math. And so we have these varying opportunities for students in math. But in addition to that, we have our accelerated English program, because we believe that all children, by the time they leave Stuart Hobson, are strong readers, and they can really accomplish quite a bit in the learning environment. And so we offer that acceleration in those 2 places specifically, but we do also embed within the other classes. I'm so sorry.
Principal Doman, I'm going to turn it over to you and ask you how you would respond to that from Jefferson Academy.
Absolutely. So one of our big goals as a school is that we want to be the best middle school in DC for all students. And that all students part really speaks to our commitment to differentiating and catering our approach to every individual student who walks in this building. So we are lucky in DCPS that we get a lot of data on students before they even walk in the door as sixth graders. So we work really hard to make sure that we're, creating class schedules and supports that match where a student is starting, so that we can maximize their growth during their 3 years with us. So for students who are, let's say, below grade level, we have several tiers of reading intervention courses that are offered in addition to students' English and language arts classes. So we have reading intervention classes for beginning readers all the way up to students who are on grade level. And we have several tiers utilizing different research-based programs. So that's one way that we make sure that our students coming in below can build and close that literacy gap, which is a gateway to success in all subjects. We do also offer math intervention classes as well for students who need that additional support in math. For our students who are already on or above grade level, much like Stuart Hobson, we do offer advanced accelerated math placement based on students' levels. So we have a cohort of sixth grade students right now who are taking seventh grade math, a cohort of seventh graders in eighth grade math, and we have a pretty large contingent of our eighth graders who are taking Algebra 1. And this year we actually do have a small cohort of students taking geometry. And that's really just based on where we see our student levels and what we need to provide to make sure that we are pushing our students to their highest potential. We are actually looking for next year to provide more support for those students who are on or above grade level. We've always been able to provide that programming in math, but I feel like we do fall short when it comes to other subject areas. And that is something we're looking at, whether it's some honors classes for particular core subjects, or maybe even doing a small cohort of students who are getting daily pullout for enrichment, almost like a student with an IEP would get, pull out to work on their IEP goals, providing that same level of individualization for students who are already on or above grade level. So that we're looking at some different options for that for next year. Right now, I think we do a fantastic job on the math side, but there are missed opportunities right now to make sure that every minute the student is in this building, they're feeling pushed and challenged. So I'm excited to formulate that with our academic leadership team here at Jefferson. And if your students coming to Jefferson next year, we'll have a much more comprehensive plan for how we're supporting those students at the highest levels as well.
Thank you. Principal Aduchim, Principal Doman mentioned IEPs in his last comment. Curious at how Montessori at Logan provides specialized instruction and related services to support students who have individual education plans.
Yeah, thank you for adding that question. So we are fortunate that due to our very small middle school, that our resource providers for students that have an individualized education plan, that our resource provider, they do a lot of pushing into the actual core content classes, because we realize that with support, we always want our special education students to be receiving grade level content, because every benchmark that they're expected to attain is grade level. And so if we're only in a place of just meeting the lagging skills, children will only advance but so far. So we do have a resource model where we pull students out and we definitely work on the lagging skills, but just so that students have access to grade level content and above, our resource provider works alongside the regular general education teacher to support the student in the least restrictive environment, so that they're with their peer, learning alongside their peer, and that they're growing faster than they would always being pulled out and just working just on skills that they're lagging in. And so the goal of special education is not to keep children there, is to get them to mainstream. And if a child is close to getting to mainstream, especially knowing that they're getting ready to transition into high school, we want to be able to set them up for success, to know that they'll be able to go into a regular cohort for high school. And if not, that we're working on a transition plan where they can get the support that they need as they move on to the high school level. But we're very intentional to ensure that our special education students, if their IEP accommodates them being in a more inclusive environment, that the special educator is working alongside that core content teacher to ensure that that student has access to grade level content while meeting their individual goals.
Thank you so much. Principal Magrino, if you're able to join us, I'd love for you to hear how Eliot-Hine deals with students who need extra support through individual education plans.
Sure. Is this better or not better? Can
It's
get
better.
on-
Thank
It's
you.
better? Okay.
Yeah.
I displaced my family for this, so.
We appreciate you,
okay.
family.
So at Eliot-Hine, one thing I will say, I'm going to answer the question, but I will also say that while we do have tons of data and we look at data all the time, it's really important to me that we're not defining students by their grade level achievement, like where they're at. There's so many facets to a child and how they're learning and what their potential is, that especially when a child is coming into us at age 11, that we're not somehow putting a stamp on them and where they're at, etc. So that is a core part of what we do. So when I say we expose kids to as much as possible, I really do think that getting kids curious and excited about learning is one of the number one things that then turns around a child's performance in a place where they may be struggling, because they may just have needed to get interested in something or have a goal and achieve it, feel some success in a different space. So we offer also the same array of interventions before school, or sorry, not before school, during school and after school with programming. We have a full inclusion for students who have a disability specifically and are receiving services through an individualized education plan. We have inclusion classes in both math and English language arts. Our students do not move in one cohort. They mix and go to all different cohorts. That's intentional so that students, you don't end up with a cohort where there's 7 students with an IEP and it ends up being it can end up being a very different class or environment than all the others. So we try to make sure that everybody is interacting with and learning with all different peers, which is very important to me as a leader, but also to our school and our culture. And then a big part of what we do and we have resource classes as well, but a big part of what we do as a school, and this is on our trajectory with our IB work, is having goals, having students set their own goals. And this year we're doing our pilot around students gathering, our 7th graders gathering portfolio items that they'll then flip and do presentations on. So we're kind of leading into student-led conferences, which is also really important. Once kids get to middle school, they should be in their IEP meeting. They should be helping to talk about their progress and what their struggles are. And so again, just making sure that the child's at the center, and as much as possible, we're hearing from them and what they think they need to learn, combining that with our understanding and knowledge and expertise as adults, and then making sure we're delivering for kids.
Thank you so much for that. And speaking of students at the center, all of us had the experience of COVID and online learning, and I'd love to hear from AP Turner how Stuart Hobson provided and continues to provide social emotional support to students who had difficulties with online learning, trauma associated with COVID, and or dealing with the general middle school teenage drama.
So I think all drama with teenagers, can you all hear me? It is super important to them. And it's very important as adults that we take the time to make sure that we're educating our kids on how to work through the dramas and traumas of life. And so COVID is a good example, but there are other ways we've been working with our students to make sure that they're getting the support that they need. So some of those ways are, we have advisory that's built into our first period class. This is where students, you may hear some similar themes throughout. This is where our students are getting that SEL lesson from a trusted adult who is walking them through things like, how do you make friends? How do you know if someone's your friend? And things of that nature, because that's very important to our teenagers or tweenagers in middle school. In addition to that, we have a tremendous mental health team at Stuart Hobson Middle School. We have 1.5 social workers, two guidance counselors, a Department of Behavioral Health support person, communities and school staffer, in addition to the members of the culture team, who are dean of students, behavior techs, et cetera, who all work together to provide additional support to students around their mental health needs and challenges. And so we work in tandem as a team to provide students with the support that they need so that they are able to grow and flourish. In terms of COVID was tricky because I think each kid needed something really different. I think some families flew through virtual learning and truly enjoyed it, and some families and students really struggled. And so I think we spent a lot of time last year kind of righting the ship and making sure we were giving students the support that they needed in many ways. And this year we're now kind of moving into a space where the support is available. It's not quite as focused on COVID, but it's definitely around making sure that support is in place for reading and math support. I didn't get a chance to finish on that. So I did want to touch base with that and let everyone know that we do have reading and math support available to students, students with IEPs, special educators who work with our students, et cetera. And so all of those staff members work in tandem to provide emotional support to students, and as well as help them achieve academically.
Thank you. Principal Doman, how about you? How did it go with COVID and how are you helping students now?
It was great. No issues whatsoever with COVID. So I think like when I think about the SEL piece, like virtual learning and COVID was hard enough. Last school year, I feel like almost made a lot of these traumas worse, right? Like we attempted to come back to school under really impossible circumstances, and students were coming in and out of the building anytime there was a case, and close contact, sending them home, masked in the building, right? Like it was actually like a pretty traumatic school year last year for kids and adults. So I feel like the number one thing that we're doing for SEL this year is reinstituting a level of normalcy and what school is supposed to look, sound, and feel like. And I feel like that structure and that consistency is the number one thing that all of us are doing for kids and their social emotional wellness. Like we know that that's what kids need. So I think that's the first thing. Beyond that, like Stuart Hobson, we have an advisory model. So all of our students start an advisory at the start of each day. It's a small group of no more than 12 students. It's where we do our tier 1 social emotional learning lessons that are either developed by our mental health team, or right now our grade level teams are actually developing those lessons aligned to our school-wide kindness campaign right now, #BeKindJA. You may have heard of it. And along with those lessons in advisory, we are pushing out information to families. I think one thing that all schools could do a better job of is making sure that families are aware of the messages we're reinforcing with students, and making sure that that is mirrored at home as well. So that's what we're really trying to do around this kindness campaign. So we just sent out a video that we asked all families to watch, a quick 5-minute video about the why behind our kindness campaign, what we were seeing in our students day to day that led us to identifying this as a major need, and some specific strategies that families can be implementing or mirroring at home to ensure that students feel that consistency. Right? When all adults in your life are speaking the same language and giving the same messages, that's really, really powerful. On a more student by student basis, we also are lucky enough to have a phenomenal mental health team, 3 social workers, a counselor, behavioral health clinician, a Catholic Charities therapist, a school psychologist. So each of them are able to carry a pretty large caseload of students so that they're able to meet with students one-on-one on a regular basis. They also push into all of our classes and do tier 1 presentations on a regular basis. So they're finishing up doing the signs of suicide presentation that was required of all schools. And through that, they've been able to identify a lot of students who are having mental health crises that they haven't voiced in the school or perhaps not even at home. And our mental health team is actually able to provide supports or make contact with the family to make sure that we're putting in supports for those students as quickly as possible. So I think it's a number of tiers, but right now the school-wide kindness campaign and making sure that that is echoed at home and that we're really working with families around our students' social emotional development is something that's really top of mind for me.
Principal Aduchim, what does family engagement look like at your school?
Well, we're excited that now that all the heavy lifting of COVID testing and sending kids home every other minute, it seemed, and parents not being able to come into the building as alluded by my colleagues by the challenges from last year. This year, we've been able to almost go back to a full scale of engagement through activities involved with our PTSO. Our PTSO is hands down one of the best in the district, and we meet quite regularly, and we schedule events that will attract all types of families within the school community. And we've actually had several large community events, kicking off with our back to school orientation in the summer. And then we moved into our fall events, movie nights, where it's great for families to come out and we're just together, just talking, just vibing, watching movies. We recently had our second movie night with our chili cook-off, where there are competition amongst the homerooms, and another movie night. But something that I also launched this year that I used to do pretty consistently at my other school was just some chat and choose with families. I differentiated something called Pastries with PA. PA, of course, are my initials. And so I hosted one with the primary families, one with our lower elementary, upper, and our middle school families. And as you know, because we are Montessori, our children stay together in age bands. And so the concerns and challenges that a fourth and fifth grade upper elementary family would have wouldn't necessarily be one that the pre-K3, pre-K4, and K families had. And that was a really good opportunity for me to listen to what's going well, what we would like to see change, what we'd like to see different. But it was also an opportunity for families who hadn't connected in a while to connect in person and to share what their passion is, and being able to connect with other families that as they're listening to what one person's passion is, you find like 5 people in a room might be interested in real estate. And so we were able to kind of like build connections that way. Every single classroom also has what we call a room parent. And the room parent is an extension of the classroom teacher. The room parent helps to coordinate what we call going out, what we field trips, snacks, just about any kind of communication that needs to go out to the wider community within that class. The room parent helps to send that information out. Some room parents even help with the monthly newsletter that is crafted for each of the grade level and different homerooms. And so parental involvement has really stepped up. Lots of our families have been chaperoning field trips throughout the fall and even throughout the winter. Some have been bus trips, some have been walking trips. And most recently, one of our parents who works in the scientific field has been doing an after-school club with our third through, I think, all the way up to fifth graders. They've been doing a science club after school. So this parent actually comes in and does science experiments with the students. We also have parents who spearhead committees, like we have Donica who's on. She spearheads the middle school committee, where it's a committee of parents and teachers where they talk about planning events, talk about things academics for our middle school students. And so essentially we have families who take on different roles, like most recently, most exciting, our Garden Health and Wellness Committee that's also spearheaded by multiple parents. We're looking at completely revamping our schoolyard, where we'll have more fruit trees, more vegetables, more plants throughout the school ground, like a complete re-greening of our school campus, since we were modernized and we lost a lot of the outdoor foliage. But also it's just so heartening to see the level of commitment that our families have with partnering. We also just had a school-wide seedling day that was led by a parent who came in and partnered with Ace Hardware, and we were able to do literally the parent came in my conference room and demonstrated to the entire school through a Teams meeting how to establish a seedling, which will then go out into garden beds, going towards rebuilding our gardening. So the parental involvement and family engagement, it really is a match to where parents see where the vision of the school is, see where Montessori is, and see how they can add value so that our school is a place where our students know that not only are your teachers teaching, but your teacher and your administrators value what your parents do in their day-to-day, and how do we make that part of our local school environment? Because one thing that really hurt us during COVID was not being able to be as cohesive as a community. So now we do student, staff, faculty games, which are funny, seeing adults play 3rd through 8th graders all the way up to middle school. So just lots and lots of different ways that we support. The support is there educationally, but through lots of fun, engaging extracurricular activities. And those are just a few of the ways that we engage our families.
Thank you so much. Principal Magrino, turning to technology and extracurriculars, can you talk about how technology is used in your instruction at school and what role technology plays in middle school education, as well as throw in any extracurricular and sports activities your school might offer?
Sure. I'll start with the technology question. So like all of DCPS, we're a one-to-one school, but our students actually we're one-to-one. The student carry their own device. They can take it home with them, bring it back, or leave it in their locker, etc. So they're responsible for carrying it class to class. And so it's used a little bit differently, depending on the, the teacher and the content area. We have a few teachers who are piloting modern classrooms work, which is basically the teacher kind of front loads a lot of the instruction, and then kids work through at their own pace. And then they hit pause points where they do a mastery check, and then they get to go do like an activity with collaborative activity together, and oftentimes with the teacher. And then they go back and start working at their pace again, and they can see there's like a big kind of tracking board. They can see where they're at. It's fun. So those kids are on the devices a lot in their classes. In other spaces, it like our teachers just have the students like take their guided notes or submit their assignments through Canvas, or maybe have kids collaborate together on a document, kind of using whatever access they have. Obviously, we use the technology for assessments and for like some independent work, like the iReady math, like things technology is great for ways for students to be able to like work independently and move like at their own pace. It facilitates that oftentimes. So we're still learning. I would be completely transparent, figuring out technology systems and the flow of devices, and devices breaking, and middle schoolers leave things everywhere. So we're still like figuring out all of this together, but we've gotten a little bit better each year. And so I'm excited about some of the changes that we've talked about for next year too, just improvement to systems. In terms of after school activities and extracurriculars, because it's technology, I'll go into this one first, but we have the Eliot-Hine network, which is the only middle school. I think it's the only middle school. It's like a TV network. Basically, they do interviews. We have a full like video production studio in the school, and so kids take video production class. They go out and do interviews, they edit, they come up with the interview questions, they do the production actually when we're doing it live. And we just got a bunch of technology to be able to live stream our events. So the kids eventually are going to be able to like film and be commentators for like sports events, for our promotion, for these types of things. And so kids actually get to be in those roles. But we have debate, we have musical theater. Our first musical, Moana Junior, will be happening at the beginning of May. We're super excited. It's because we were inspired by Stuart Hobson, saw the musical and said, we're coming for you. So we're coming for you. Also, why we have debate as well. So there's a lot of competition, friendly competition here. So we have band, and band is actually a class during the day, but then they also kind of perform. We have a fantastic librarian who does book clubs and book cafes, lots of activities after school kids can get involved in, 18 different competitive sports, including all the usuals, but also archery, bowling, are a couple of the more unique ones. We have like We the Girls, we have different empowerment groups for kids and leadership opportunities, the Eliot-Hine United Nations. And then we have all kinds, like, as I mentioned with exposure, like if kids have an idea, I'm like, cool, go find yourself a sponsor. We had a cat club one year because these girls love cats. So like, go forth. We have an anime club. And we do what's called I&E, which is inquiry and exploration, where kids choose every quarter, they choose a different club or activity. And we have everything from African dance to ping pong to card games to just all kinds of things. The student court was a proposal by a student. They were like, we should have a student court. Now we have a student court, and they like review selected behavioral issues and then come together and determine what the consequences should be. So as much as possible, when kids have an idea, we want to make it happen. We are a leader in me school. So we really are having students understand that leadership starts within themselves, and that everybody's a leader in whatever way, whatever capacity, whether it's modeling or being a great team member or actually like leading the whole charge. So anyway, tons of opportunities for kids, fashion show coming up, kids putting together a fashion show, all kinds of things. So very exciting. Always things going on.
That's awesome. And I want to get to our other principals with a few more questions at the end. But before I do that, I wanted to turn it back to Suzanne, because we have some special guests that I think will be very interesting for this conversation.
Thank you, Denise. Tonight, we wanted to do something a little different from what we did last year, and we have a parent panel, which are current parents and their children who attend these schools. And we wanted them to share a little bit about what their experiences are at them. So we're fortunate tonight to be joined by Pam Dickerson, who is a parent at Stuart Hobson, and Pam's son is here with her. We have Erica Martin, who is a parent at Eliot-Hine, and her son Holden. And then Ishmael Wilson. And Ishmael, I think your two sons may be online with you. And then there's also Matthew Woodland Huntley, who is a student at Capitol Hill Montessori at Logan. If I didn't say it, Ishmael is with Capitol Hill Montessori at Logan. So I think that we're going to try to showcase each of them. I see Pam, I see Erica. I think we're trying to find Ishmael. But why don't we start with Pam, who we see, and I'll turn it back to Denise.
Great. Welcome, everybody. This is so exciting. I love this part. Starting with Pam and your child, I'd love to hear what school you go to and why you like going to school there.
Hello, I'm Pamela Dickerson, and this is my son, Logan. I think we had Charlie, my daughter, on the agenda. Logan can introduce himself. What grade are you in?
Hi, my name is Logan Dickerson. I'm in 8th grade and I go to Stuart Hobson High School.
I am the PTA president for the Capitol Hill Cluster Schools. I have been a parent within the cluster for since he was in 3rd grade. It's been a long time that we have been cluster parent and cluster students. We absolutely love Stuart Hobson and the Capitol Hill cluster schools. I will allow Logan to share his experience, and then I will share mine as a parent.
My experience at Stuart Hobson has been amazing while I've been there for my years, only for 2. I made amazing friends that joined amazing clubs over the time. And I feel like that the clubs that we have right now are really well.
What do you do there?
Yeah.
What band?
Oh, yeah.
Baseball?
We have jazz ensemble, the first go-go band, and our
Yeah, orchestra,
orchestra.
theater, drama. What sports do you play?
I play baseball and track.
Okay. I personally like Stuart because I feel that middle school is just the most crazy part of your educational career. And I wanted my children to be in a place where they are loved, where they can learn, and most importantly, have fun. And at Stuart Hobson, they have a lot of sports. They have every club that you can imagine. They have golf and all of the things that you want, including clubs that allow girls to sit down and paint their nails and have conversations, from chess club to you name it. And when you walk into the school, everyone knows your name, and it's not because I'm the PTA president or Charlie and Logan's mom, but it's because everyone knows everyone, and we are a great big family that supports each other and talks all the time, and just love to have fun. And I love the choice that we made for Logan and Charlie. Charlie, she plays the violin. Most importantly, I love Stuart Hobson because I feel that it's a feeder school to Duke Ellington School of the Arts. And hopefully Logan will be attending. You cannot tell my daughter Charlie she will not be going next year because she has already planned everything related to her audition. But we absolutely love it. AP Turner is amazing. And the rest of the staff is too. I was literally chatting with teachers on my phone while this call was going on my watch for Logan. They are always responsive, always calling, sending messages, letting you know what's going on, cool field trips. We have a space camp that we're going to this year. And it's a normal thing that used to happen before the pandemic, but just excellent curriculum and just lots of fun times. And you can't ask for anything better before you get all stringent and go to high school. So we love Stuart, and thank you for this opportunity to share.
Thank you, Pam, and thank you, Logan, as a former Stuart Hobson mom and now a Duke Ellington mom. I can't wait to see you guys next year. Ishmael, please, I invite you to the stage and would love to hear from your kids about your experience.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to share. Hello, Principal Duchem. Thank you for this opportunity to share. So my twins, Christian and Carrington, they go to Capitol Hill Montessori. We've, my oldest son, he's 14 now, and he went to kindergarten there. He started off there at kindergarten. So the reason why we kept our kids at Capitol Hill Montessori is because of the sense of community that is there. Principal Aducham has done a phenomenal job at just making sure that the students feel welcomed every time they come in the building. All of the teachers, it's almost like one big family. You know, my 14-year-old, I think he was in the first grade when he was stricken with alopecia. alopecia. He had a hair full of hair, and then all of a sudden, one day we woke up, all of his hair just started coming out. And, the transition for him was kind of rough, trying to figure out, what was actually happening with him. So we took him to all these doctors, and he had to wear baseball caps, and the school just protected him. Just made sure that he was, welcomed and safe, even though the children had questions as, what happened to Josiah's hair, that kind of thing. But still, and now he has a head full of hair now, it came all back. But we just appreciate just the environment that they have fostered there. It is definitely an environment that is conducive to not just learning, but community and family and proper instruction. So I'm excited about being there. You guys want to say anything?
Yes, I'm Christian Wilson. I'm a 7th grader here at Capitol Hill Montessori. My experience here is I love how the classes are because at my old school, I don't want to say the curriculum was hard, but I feel like it wasn't for me. So Capitol Hill Montessori, it was a great fit for me. It wasn't too hard, too easy. It was right in the middle. It was a great fit for me and my sister. One thing I do love about Capitol Hill Montessori is the people there. They make sure you're welcome and everything, and it's one big family, especially the classrooms and everything. And one thing I do love at Capitol Hill Montessori is the sports I play. I do track and I do basketball there. The teams are amazing, and yeah.
All right, good job. What about you, Carrington?
A reason why I chose Capitol Hill is because it's a really good learning experience and social experience for me. And I like Capitol Hill because it really has a lot of variety of options for sports and extracurricular activities. And I really love Capitol Hill because all the teachers really want all of the students to succeed, and you can see.
Oh, that's great.
You're hearing it here, folks, right from the mouths of babes. I love it. Erica, I invite you and your son to the show.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Holden Martin. I'm in 6th grade at Eliot-Hine. And one of my favorite things about Eliot-Hine is the options they have. They have after school activities. They have sports, from bowling. We have a bowling team to swimming, to basketball, to soccer.
What did you do?
I did soccer, cross country, and indoor track. And I will do baseball in the spring. There's also stage crew, which I also do after school. We're going to be putting on a show of Moana, I think in May.
Why did you want to go?
I wanted to go because it's really near for me, but also my sister went to Eliot and had a really good experience there. And it was a lot of fun for her, so I'm having a lot of fun there right now.
And I'm Erica, as Holden's mom, he's a 6th grader. So this is his first year. My daughter went to Eliot-Hine for her entire middle school career, which included half the time was during COVID, and is now a thriving sophomore at Banneker High School. I think we initially for her as going into middle school, I think one of the primary reasons we chose the school is we wanted her to start middle school at 6th grade, not 5th grade. Just thinking the developmentally appropriate time for middle school is 6. And so we wanted to focus on our feeder school and the proximity. Like Holden said, we're in the neighborhood, and definitely wanted to sort of keep the cohort together of friends and community that we had made through elementary. We loved that it was a small school. So in the general number of students in a grade, as well as overall, so that they would be known. And I was excited about the IB middle years program as well, just knowing the sort of pathways, and I'm familiar with IB at the high school level. So I was eager for her to engage in the sort of the more global perspective and looking at all of your different smarts and how you can bring those to play. definitely through our experience, like just seeing the amount of opportunities that kids have to learn, like middle school, like many of the principals have talked about here, it's time to sort of experiment and try, get exposed to new things. So I love all the variety of clubs and sports, and the fact that it wasn't reserved to only those who could make the team. Like generally there's always enough slots for kids who just have wanted to try out, never played soccer before, can sort of walk on and be part of that community and that school, which I thought was fantastic for just a group of kids to, this is their time to figure things out. Like, and I think so much of what all of these principals have talked about, I think are reflected in our experience at Eliot-Hine in terms of really how well the kids are known by the adults. I mean, I think that was what I was really shocked by at the end of my daughter's experience when she was applying to high school, is realizing how many adults knew her, had interacted with her over the course of her 3 years of middle school, and were ready to write those letters of recommendation. So I mean, I was surprised and really blown away by how well they knew her, and seeing how critical that social and emotional learning piece is at middle school, and this sort of community that all of these principals have talked about. I think that is invaluable about your neighborhood school, that there really is that community dimension. And I mean, at the way it plays out at Eliot-Hine is that I'm able to like, participate and and contribute to the pantry. There's a food pantry that Eliot-Hine hosts, and for the entire community, not just for Eliot-Hine. But I do appreciate that is also a way that students can be involved in serving their community. And with IB, there's also a service dimension to for their 8th grade. And I also have been a huge proponent of that. So I think we were only more further encouraged by my daughter's experience to have Holden join and attend. And it's, I think she started middle school when Miss Magrino was her inaugural year as principal. And we've been thrilled with the sense of community that she has under her leadership has really transformed the school and really helped to retain fantastic teachers who work together and sort of bring that sort of commitment and desire to really build up all students from all different backgrounds working together. You know, I love that there have been teachers that have returned to the school, I think because of Ms. Magrino as well, which is fantastic.
Thank you so much, families, for that great presentation. And I couldn't agree more with Sandra. You students were amazing, and I can't wait to see what else you will do before you leave your middle schools. So that's awesome. I'm going to turn to some, I want to finish up a question about technology and extracurriculars, and then I'm going to turn to some questions that we got. Please use the chat. I'm happy to ask any question. And if you have questions for the students as well, don't forget them. Principal Doman, would love to hear about the extracurriculars at Jefferson, along with any technology areas that you guys focus on.
Sure. First, students, you guys crushed it. You all made your schools sound like the amazing places they are. So good job to all three of you. In terms of technology and extracurriculars at Jefferson, you know, COVID was a gift and a curse as it relates to like technology, as it relates to learning. You know, our students and our teachers became so much more familiar with all sorts of new platforms that support learning through technology. And when we came back last year from COVID, I think maybe we went a little bit too far in the tech direction with learning. And as we all know, our kids and all of us spend a lot of time staring at screens throughout the day. And there's also something to be said for the good old traditional pen and paper type learning. So I think this year we've struck a much more healthy balance where we are a one-to-one school. Students are utilizing technology every single day in at least some of their classes, but we're using it in really meaningful ways. Is it really supplementing and enriching the learning that students are doing? For instance, a lot of our math classrooms utilize technology in the classroom, a program we use called Formative that allows students to be doing work, their math work on the devices, and the teacher on their device can see students doing their math work in real time and be able to send them instant messages and give them feedback in the moment that allows them to address misconceptions and make sure that all students are moving toward mastering the objective. Things like that are like really meaningful uses of technology. So you would still see it being used. And students take 7 classes a day at Jefferson. I'd say in any given day, you'd probably see them using devices in 3 to 4 of their 7 classes, but only in ways that really make sense, right? Not as a break from whatever else they're doing, not as any type of distraction, but something that really makes sense. And is also teaching students those important digital literacy skills so that they're learning typing and word processing and all those things that we know are important later in life. In terms of extracurriculars, like the other schools that are represented here, I think we provide a really well-rounded middle school experience. So we have a full range of athletics. I could list all of them, but that would take a lot of my time. But any type of athletics program you could imagine, we operate at Jefferson, and it's all open to all grade levels. So that's something that folks often ask at open houses is like, can 6th graders join any team? And the answer is yes. All of our athletics, all of our clubs are open to students at all grade levels. In addition to all of our athletics, we have Voices of Now, which is our partnership with Arena Stage. So our students who are interested in the performing arts can go over to Arena Stage 2 to 3 days a week after school and work with professional actors and directors and actually create their own original production, which is then put on at Arena Stage as part of the Voices of Now Festival every May. We have an amazing makerspace club for students who like to do hands-on projects with our librarian, Miss Boyd, who's actually the reigning National Librarian of the Year. She does amazing work with our students during the school day and in after school. We have anime club, craft club, cursive club, science club, a Spanish speaking club, We the Girls, which is a mentoring and empowerment program for young ladies. We have student government for our students who want to move into leadership positions. And like Principal Magrino said, if students bring us something, if they see a gap, they see something that we should add, we're always open to adding new programs on the fly if we feel like it's something that students are going to be interested in and could enrich their overall experience at Jefferson. So I think overall, we provide a really well-rounded middle school experience, both inside the classroom and outside of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. One of the questions we received in the chat was a follow-up to an earlier question asking whether Eliot-Hine, if Eliot-Hine's principal and Capitol Hill at Montessori at Logan could address kids who are above grade level. That means how you're educating kids who are above grade level in addition to below grade level, as Stuart Hobson and Jefferson did. So why don't we start with Principal Aduchim?
Sure. I think the approach that we take to supporting students who are below, who are not quite at grade level, is 2 ways. One is with human capital. We have a reading specialist and we have a math specialist. And if students are in need of additional tutoring, we provide it after school. We prioritize students who are lagging. We ensure that we offer after school tutoring for those particular students. For the first time, we've also incorporated study hall. And we did that so that the interventionist and even the classroom teacher who wants to work with students on a one-on-one or a two-on-one basis can pull them during that study hall period without interfering with the core content classes, which has really, really been a value add. And then the other piece is there are just some skills that sometimes with your best diagnostic, teachers just can't identify. So we invest in adaptive blended learning programs such as iReady for middle school math and reading, and Lexia Power Up for reading, and of course, Read 180. And what those adaptive programs do, they identify key skills that teachers wouldn't be able to necessarily create an assessment for. And then those students receive a prescribed amount of minutes that they need to spend getting direct instruction from those adaptive programs. And it gives immediate feedback at the end of every single unit that the students complete, whether they need additional teacher table time or whether the unit that they completed was potentially too easy, and then we can make adjustments. And students have access to those adaptive programs before school, after school, during holidays, and even during the summertime. And so aside from referrals to the multi-tiered system of support, otherwise known as MTSS, where we formalize students who need that extra support, we also make sure that we have tutoring available and that kids have time to work on these blended learning programs that can fill in skills that teachers either can't identify or don't have the time to fill in. Now, students who are above grade level, the beautiful thing about Montessori is that teachers are trained to be able to modify curriculum within that core content area. And students are able to choose how deep they want to go on a particular topic to extend and enrich their own learning. And now, because DC has a very specific promotion, academic promotion guideline, we've been able to move students into other grade levels that better suit their academic abilities if their grade level content would not necessarily suit them. And we're very fortunate that we have leaders like our instructional coach and our specialists, the reading and math, who also love to work with children that are well above level. They find it a great challenge and a joy to be able to work with those students also, so that those children don't feel like they're stagnant or falling behind or not getting appropriately challenged.
Thank you, Principal Aduchim. Principal Magrino, the same question. And thank you, Principal Doman.
All right, so I feel like I mentioned some about the interventions and students need additional support. So focusing on students who are at or above grade level, or students who, in my opinion, would say kids who are really excited to push themselves and to grow and learn more. So there's a number of different ways I think we come at this. So the first thing I will say, and anybody who is at Eliot-Hine will know this about me, I'm very transparent about what we're like knocking out of the park and what we're still working on or we haven't quite figured out. This is an area where, thanks to parent feedback and student feedback on what we've learned over the last few years, we're definitely improving on, and I'm really excited about our trajectory. It's not something I feel like we've kind of knocked out of the park in the past. I think we just didn't know all the opportunities we have. So I'm actually very excited about this now. So we have, in the past few years when we hadn't really figured it out, including this year, we've done some small cohorts of students who got like additional enrichment type activities. We have our, in IB, for IB program, you write your own units. So our units are kind of automatically already integrating multiple disciplines and also kind of higher level thinking, just by the way the IB program is outlined. And it's all framed under like a big kind of global context and concept. And so we've written our own language and literature units, which is ELA and in the IB world. And they've introduced different books than what some of the traditional DCPS curriculum has. And we've really worked to center authors, Black and Brown authors, and any kind of all types of characters, from marginalized groups as main characters, just doing what we can to make sure that we are, again, exposing kids as much as possible, but getting kids into very highly engaging text, which then of course makes them like be excited and push themselves. So part of it is in our actual design. And then we have something called SOAR, which is student-owned acceleration and reflection, where we get into small groups. We do small group learning, and that allows the teacher to do targeted instruction so they can push kids who are ready to be pushed,
They can support kids who in any particular time need a different support. So that's very personalized, and that's kind of a model that we use. We have 80-minute classes. So there's some direct instruction, and then there's always time where we're broken down doing teacher-led instruction, collaborative instruction, or independent learning. And that allows the teacher time to really target and focus the instruction. And then with the IB program, so we're continuing to build out these grasps, which is how the students can apply their learning in real world context. So this is what I'm really excited about, where we're headed, because we're going to be introducing IB grading, which means that students on a 1 to 8 scale, they actually kind of they know what they need to do and they rate themselves within it, and then they continue to like improve and get better. What that means is that like you want students to get to like a 5 or 6. That's like good, solid, like you're there. But for students who are ready to excel, that 7 or 8 is there. And so it's kind of, it will be built in for students to continue to revise and improve their work and excel. So I think we're building it in lots of different ways, in addition to kind of just accelerated classes, planning in general for high levels of learning, giving kids a lot of choice and self-direction. And then, of course, just listening to families. Families have been the way that we have, and students have been the way that we've adjusted and changed our program in so many ways over the last 5 years. And so we're hearing this is more of a need, and we're going to continue to grow those programs.
Thank you. We're in our final minute, and I just wanted to call Matthew Woodland Huntley to talk about his experience at Capitol Hill Montessori at Logan. Matthew, are you there?
I'm here.
Why don't you tell us about your experience? Tell us your name and what grade you're in.
So my name is Matthew Woodland Huntley. I'm in the 7th grade. I have been at Capitol Hill Montessori since I was 4 years old. And the reason why I kept coming back is because every time that I want to leave, they always surprise me with something new and make me come back. Like when my old principal left, I thought that my new principal wouldn't be as nice as my old one, until I met Principal Duchem, and she is amazing. As being in Montessori, I help tutor a couple kids. I tutor 3rd grade, I tutor 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and 5th grade.
That's awesome, Matthew. Thank you so much for sharing. And this was really a great program this evening, everybody. Please check out these amazing Ward 6 middle schools. They're all excellent, and you really can't make a bad choice. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'll turn it over to Suzanne to say her final words, but thanks again. It's good to see everybody.
I just want to thank Denise, all of our principals, all the families that joined, and I just hope you found this evening informative and that you learned something about our middle schools. And I agree with Denise, we have great options here in Ward 6, and actually Eliot-Hine is now in Ward 7 with redistricting. And we have close by great options, and I hope families will consider them. So thank you all for joining this evening.
Can I just ask what that Principal Duchem to answer just one quick question about whether students can join at 6th grade if they haven't been in Montessori?
Yeah, sorry about that. My chat was doing weird things because I responded, but it went to Denise. Yes, we actually have slots for 6th graders to come into the middle school. It's probably the age band that, besides pre-K 3, that has the most available slots, because we are moving into the cohort model. So we welcome students with non-Montessori experience into our school. And from day one, it's like they've been there since they were 3.
All right, thank you very much, Principal Duchem.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you all.
Good
Enjoy
night.
the rest of your evenings.
Bye, everybody. Good night.
Thank you all.
Night, everyone.